Wrestler of the Year, our final category here for the 2018 WWE/NXT Year in Review Awards. Our contenders included Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, and Johnny Gargano. So coming in, we'll go from the bottom and work our way up. 0% of the votes, dude. This was the only option out of every category that I had this year. Like Natalya got 0% last year. The only person that got 0% this year was Brock Lesnar. Out of every category, no one voted for Brock Lesnar. And I had to include him. People are like, oh, why would you put Brock? Well, dude, in storyline, he was champion for the better part of the year. He was champion until August, and then he got the belt back in November. So how can I not include him? But he still got 0%, so I agree with that. Second to last was Aleister Black, who had a great year. I'm surprised he got that little of votes, but yeah, 3%. And then the top three were pretty close. It was very close between these top three. 26% of the vote, Seth Rollins. 28% of the vote, AJ Styles. And 31% of the vote, so by a hair, Johnny Gargano is the 2018 Wrestler of the Year. And it's hard to argue with that. It really is, just because Gargano has had such an amazing year. Literally every match the guys had on TakeOver this year has been the best match on that TakeOver. So I can't argue with that. I think Gargano deserves to win the award, and Rollins had a great year. He kind of died out in the second half of the year with the whole Shield stuff. AJ was champion for the better part of the entire year, but he lacked like those 5-star classics that Gargano had with Almas and with Ciampa, with Aleister Black. I can't vote against Gargano here. I completely agree with that. So he is the 2018 Wrestler of the Year, RJ. Do you agree with that pick?
I did vote for Johnny Gargano. I did vote for him. I will say, I'm not surprised it was as close as it was. I kind of figured it might be a landslide win, but just like, yeah, the Gargano have a really good year, yeah, but he didn't win anything. So it's kind of confusing that he won. Like I said, he had a great year, no buts about it, but he didn't win anything. So I will say I'm kind of surprised. Because obviously when you think of good years, he won the championships and all the big matches. I don't think he won any of the big matches he was in.
No, he only beat Ciampa in New Orleans, but beyond that, he lost to Almas in Philly. He lost to Ciampa in Chicago. He lost to Ciampa in Brooklyn. And then he lost to Black at War Games.
Yeah, so, I don't know. But I think another thing is, like, at least for me, like, Seth Rollins is pretty much the only reason I was watching Raw as religiously as I was. Honestly, the show just sucked, but I feel like he was, like, the top guy on Raw. Like, he was what keep me, at least myself, interested. AJ Styles was great on SmackDown as well, but I don't know, I just kind of watched SmackDown just to watch out, not just strictly for him. But I think without Rollins, I probably would have not watched Raw as much as I did. I just think he is a big star. I think he should be the one that beats Lesnar. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I think just by his reaction and what he's done this year, I think him beating Lesnar is kind of what should happen. I think he's the one to beat the one. Because they kind of still have that unfinished business from a couple of years back when he faced Lesnar. And no contest, but I think going into next year, they really have to look at Rollins as a serious threat to be like the top guy since now that Roman's out.
Yeah, I was going to say no Roman in this category. I mean, again, with Gargano, the guy didn't win anything, but at least all of his matches were amazing. So
yeah,
I would say
I agree with that end. Yeah, every match he was in was amazing.
So
like I said, you think of a great year, you think of winning all the titles. That's kind of just. So that's why I think that's why it was a little bit closer than it kind of was, just because he actually didn't win anything. At least the other guys had won titles, and like you said, AJ had a good year. He was champion all year. Like you said, he didn't really have that great one match. I thought him and Nakamura at WrestleMania wasn't great, but I don't think it was. I thought it was a good match.
I thought it was a good match too. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, but I don't know. With this company, I don't know why we even thought it'd be like that good. Just like it's kind of like in that aspect too. It's kind of slanted in a way. Like NXT always has good matches. So like imagine if that was Seth Rollins instead of Gargano, I think he would have won. Like it's just kind of one of those things. Like I don't know. It's kind of skewed in that direction, I guess. Because like plenty of guys in NXT will have greater matches than they would in the main roster. But like I said, I don't think either AJ, Rollins, or Gargano all had great years. Lesnar, like you said, he was champion all year, so kayfabe wise, like he should be included. But I'm not surprised no one voted for him. Everyone just like. I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm a big Lesnar fan, but I did like him more back in the day. I just think now that I'm like getting more into like the actual business and actually like caring about it more, I think it is annoying that he's never there. And it's like, what do they expect people can like? People just at this point just hate him because he's never on TV. And he's just like, I think his not being in Raw has hurt the product even more than just a shitty match and stuff. At least if you had the champion. Also, when Roman was on the show, it wasn't amazing, but at least like. You have something to look forward to. Like him not even on the show, it's like the best champions, like the IC champion. Like, woo. It just doesn't happen to a lot of people, especially a casual fan. You want to see the main champion fight every week, well, at least included.
Well, if he's not going to be on the show, then don't put the belt on him. He was the champion for 10 months out of the year, from January to October, from January to August, not counting 2017, and then November through December. The only months where he wasn't champion were September and October, and that was it. And even Raw wasn't all that great at that point when Roman was champion because the Raw still sucked. The Raw show still sucked because it was the fall season and it's almost always terrible. So, yeah, I couldn't include Roman. He really didn't do anything this year at all. He lost the Rumble. He lost the WrestleMania. He did win at SummerSlam, but that was his only good moment. He really has not had many good matches. He wasn't included in any of the match of the year contenders too. So, I mean, I feel bad not including Roman, but Brock, from a kayfabe standpoint, had a better year, and Gargano hasn't won anything, but he had the best matches all year of anyone. So, yeah, you are right that the NXT people have more of a shot. Like, I'm sure if AJ or Rollins were in NXT, then they would have won the award by a landslide too. But this wasn't a landslide one. This was pretty close between all three guys. Rollins, AJ, and Gargano, the faces of the respective shows. Gargano for NXT, Styles for SmackDown, Rollins for Raw. So I'm glad it kind of ended up the way that it did. In comparison, real quick, from past years, 2017, the Wrestler of the Year was Braun Strowman. He's not even in the running this year. He was the most disappointing Superstar of the Year, but he won last year. 2016 was AJ Styles, who won with 80% of the vote 2 years ago, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, AJ won 2 years ago. 2015, Seth Rollins, so he has won it before. That was 3 years ago when he was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, won with 79% of the vote. And then 2014 was also Seth Rollins with 39% of the vote. So Rollins, I forgot, was a 2-time winner of the Wrestler of the Year. And then 2013, I would have to go look it up real quick. But still, pretty impressive track record.
Last year for Superstar of the Year?
What did you say?
Do you have this? Who got second and third from last year?
Oh, yeah. Let me check real quick. 2017... Let's see, Braun was 46% of the vote, so not as big of a landslide. Second was AJ with 42% of the vote, so it was only really those two. And then third was, let me see here, Kevin Owens with 4% of the vote, so that's a pretty big margin.
Really had a bit of a year last year? I couldn't even tell you what he did.
Who, Strowman or AJ? Strowman, he was really over last year. That was when he had the whole... He was like the big breakout star of last year. I think it's probably why he won, because he feuded with Roman.
Those series of matches with Roman, which were pretty good.
That was about it.
He was sole survivor of Survivor Series with Triple H.
He honestly, I think, accomplished more this year than he did last year, but I think this year, I think he was more disappointing just because we were expecting so much. That's probably why.
Yeah, I think, especially with last year, at least I don't know, I've been a big Strowman guy for a while. I kind of expected him to break out, but, like I said, I think that's kind of, one of the ones that, was last, he had, a decent year, but, I think at the end of the year, it was, like you said, he was a sole survivor. I just couldn't really tell you what else he really did throughout the year. Lost the, whatever it's called, Andre Giant Memorial. He fucking got beat 20 seconds with Big Show.
Yeah.
I just don't think you really. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like you really didn't have that great of a year last year. But
no, I think it was just slim competition. I think AJ probably should have won, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, Braun was not even in the running this year because of how bad of a year that I mean, again, he probably had a better year this year, but like the quick face and heel turns and not just being involved. I think the Roman feud really was what made him have a great year last year. This year, he didn't have any good feuds at all. Like, he feuded with The Bar, he feuded with Roman again, he feuded with Kevin Owens, which was a waste of time, and now he's feuding with Corbin. So that's probably why. But hopefully he can have a better year. And Johnny Gargano, do you think he ends up in the main roster in 2019?
Yeah, I do, but I have slight hope for him.
2018 Wrestler of the Year could end up on 205 Live come 2019. I would not be surprised.
Exactly what I'm thinking. I think he'll have. But he's one of those guys I definitely fear for on the main roster.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with him. He's one of those guys, especially due to his size, that I would very much fear that they wouldn't utilize him the right way like they have been in NXT. The guy's like, he's only won, let's be honest here, like 2 matches at TakeOver. If you really think about it, he's only won like 2 TakeOver matches in 2.5 years. But he's had more TakeOver matches than anyone else ever. He won when they won the NXT Tag Team titles 2 years ago. But then they lost him the next special. And then he beat Ciampa this year. That's it. I don't think he's won another TakeOver beyond those 2. So he's like 2-12 or 2-11 on TakeOver, or something crazy like that.
It's just because he's so over, that's why.
Yeah, and he's also booked really well. Like on the main roster, if you won 2 TakeOver matches and like 2 pay-per-view matches in 2 years, he'd be considered the biggest loser of all time. But because he's such an underdog, he can rebound back really well.
Yeah. So. I think that's an NXT thing, because, like, they booked plenty of guys that look good in defeat, like Neville, and just people are like, he's a loser.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's an NXT. I think it's definitely an NXT thing. A little bit different
in that aspect. I think if Gargano, they did the same thing Gargano. They had him booked good and looked good in defeat, and he just lost. People would just get over him very fast.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so, too. I think with Gargano, that especially come the main roster, it's going to be a different story. And also, quick for reference sake, I just looked it up too. 2013 Wrestler of the Year for the awards was Daniel Bryan with 70% of the votes. So he was the Wrestler of the Year 5 years ago.